I was pretty much bang set from the get-go that I wanted to get into robotics and learn a lot about like machine learning, AI, and embedded systems and all of those things. So picking electrical engineering was pretty much a no-brainer for me because I was also interested in microcontrollers and all of those aspects of things. And so I wanted to be able to get like a little bit of a hardware interface in addition to pure software, which is why EE was a no-brainer for me. But other routes people could look into in addition to electrical engineering, if they consider robotics or ML or AI and stuff like that, is definitely like CS or computer engineering even. In those majors, you are able to pick more software-based classes, and you are able to stay away from like the circuits and all of those aspects of things. But the adage is that you also then end up taking like a couple of comms classes in CS, like network protocols and things like that, which I wasn't too interested in, and so that's kind of why I stayed away from. Um, but at least at UC San Diego, and luckily because of the college I was in, I had enough leeway to choose CS classes in addition to the pure EE classes. Um, and so in addition to just an electrical engineering background in my first and second year, I was also able to take a bunch of CS classes that CS majors take that really did help build a base for advanced robotics classes in the future. And I'm pretty sure like even if you don't get into a specific major, you can always explore other majors and take like pick and choose classes which you might find interesting and take those. And that's really advantageous in a lot of situations. Because I think like one thing that I definitely did not realize until my second year was that there is a lot of free space in an education in US to just explore other things and take classes which you really just didn't know you wanted to take until you read the description or you talked to someone about it and you're like, oh, that might really be cool. And I want to take a look at that. And in the process, you get to talk to a bunch of people, learn new perspectives, diversity of thought. All of that is just unbelievably insane.
Fantastic. So in terms of this, for a layman to understand what is robotics, as in what courses you take, or embedded systems, and the connection with data science, AI, ML. So what was your trajectory like? And like I was asking, what are the connections with industry projects or research that can be applied in industry? What was the hands-on stuff that you also did with that department?
So I think for me, my original thought about robotics was pretty broad, in that automation was kind of what I was thinking when I thought of robotics. Basically, the idea is that you have machines and you basically provide them with a minimal amount of intelligence to make them autonomous and kind of allow them to be self-sustainable in different environmental conditions. So the best example I can provide you is a Tesla driving an autonomous car around the city streets on its own, right? So when I came to university, a little bit of that is definitely true, but I realized that there's a lot more than just this broad idea of self-sustenance and autonomy. Um, when I break down robotics, there's a lot of different parameters under it, like kind of sensing, which is kind of where you look at your environment and figure out like what are the different things there, understanding what um, factors could affect your machine and just those things. There's also things like tracking, so where you kind of move around in the space and things like that. So there's a lot basically in robotics, and kind of the classes that I'm going to start taking in my master's will kind of dive deep a little bit more into these different aspects and give me a better clear understanding of exactly what's going on there. Um, but kind of this all ties back in together in the form of machine learning and AI, where you're able to kind of give the robots like a little bit of understanding on just how to, let's say, classify a dog versus a cat, or how to classify like a car versus a human, and things like that. So this idea of teaching machines how to learn and teaching machines how to understand different scenarios and situations is kind of what machine learning, robotics, and AI, all of it is.
Fantastic. UCSD also has set up a new data science facility. It's been, what, 3-4 years now?
Right. It's
So
pretty new.
does it like not allow, but do you see that interconnection really work across majors? Students at ECE very easily and are readily welcome to take classes there.
So I know that the classes sometimes are capped in terms of they want their major students in the major take the classes first. But for me personally, I haven't had issues taking CS classes, which are typically more in demand than other major classes. And so I'm assuming that that would also hold for data science. I personally have not taken data science classes, but I would imagine that it's not that hard to get into. In terms of connectivity with EE, I would think that if there is a class that interests you, there is always a way to apply it in a field that you are trying to pursue. Case in point, I have friends who are really interested in music and they take a bunch of music classes and now they're doing DSP or digital signal processing, where they're able to combine their understanding of music in electronics and things that like companies like Beats, Sennheiser, Bose, Sony, like they do on a daily basis, right? So if you are interested in anything, there's always a way and an interdisciplinary combination of that with anything. And EE is very broad and allows all of that in particular.
Fantastic. So I want to know a little bit about your academic journey and then culminating with this award that you recently received,
Mm-hmm.
Award of Excellence from Jacobs School of Engineering. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think worked for you as a in preparation? Obviously, you didn't have your eyes set on this award. It was just mostly like you were enjoying your academics, it seems a
Right,
lot. And also, was it that you were doing research work or being a research assistant?
right.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your academic pace at college.
So if I'm being 100% honest, and I think you know this better than anyone, if you look at my transcripts back from high school, they were pretty atrocious. Like there was a solid point where all of us were concerned if I was getting into any university whatsoever. But the fact that UCSD gave me a shot was kind of like really mind blowing. And I think like I mentioned, right, the first year where you actually start meeting people and just the kind of work ethic that they are associated with is kind of what drives you to get more work done. What I mean by that is idealistically, if you have someone who you see around you 24/7 is kind of working, it doesn't necessarily have to be hitting the books, but they're just driven in doing what they're passionate about, like exploring new things, doing a project, building a personal project, doing research, just learning new things essentially, versus someone who's kind of just there to study and just there to kind of get done with school. Like that kind of a mindset really changes your approach to everything. And I was really lucky to kind of have met people who were driven and who wanted to be there, wanted to do different things, right, really early. And that kind of drove me to also kind of see myself in that space and realize that, okay, maybe I can also do these things and kind of understand that learning these new things is kind of how I build myself in the major, right? And so slowly I started picking up new ideas. I found a professor who was kind of willing to give me a shot in his research lab as a sophomore, and then moved on to another lab as a junior, but I'm still working right now, is kind of what allowed me to learn a lot about the academics in electrical engineering. But also in addition, just the extracurriculars in student orgs and meeting people through student orgs was kind of an unbelievable experience to be able to host events, host large hackathons, or even be a part of large hackathons is kind of really an unbelievable experience.